This is a tremendous honor for all of us to take the time out of our busy schedules to thank them. That's what today is about, commemorating 50 years, but commemorating the sacrifice and service of those that served in Vietnam. This is a very special time for us to do that, to remember what that service was all about, to take the time to thank our men and women that served, but also to remember what we went through as a nation then, and to make sure that experience, that learning, assures us that we never go through a period of time where it takes us so long to recognize the great service and sacrifice of the men and women that served in Vietnam.
Unlike previous wars and our more recent ones in Kuwait, Iraq, and Afghanistan, our Vietnam veterans did not come home to parades and a nation grateful for their service. Too often, they were treated poorly, and their families experienced uncaring, even though, quite frankly, they were enduring the hardships of the separation from their loved one, and in too many cases, the loss of their servicemen. There was little community support, and those service members who came home wounded were not often left, were too often left to nurse their own injuries, their own scars, their memories, without the popular support and outpouring that we see today. It should be remembered that over 58,000 were killed in action during the war, and their names appear on the wall in Washington, D.C. 75,000 were disabled. There are still 1,627 unaccounted for, and 7,484 women served in Vietnam with distinction, 8 of whom did not come home. These facts represent real people and touch upon real families. It's only fitting that those who served be honored for their service and for their sacrifice. As I thought how best to characterize those who served in Vietnam and their families that they had left behind, one word continued to resound: faithful. Yes, faithful. We were faithful to our country, to our family, to our respective armed service whose uniform that we wore. And you know what? Most importantly, we were faithful to each other. Webster's dictionary defines faithful as being loyal, conscientious, reliable, trustworthy, and devoted. As I look out at my fellow veterans and the families who are gathered here today, I believe that Mr. Webster got it right. You served selflessly, while too many others chose to avoid service. You understood right from wrong and simply strove to do right. You could be counted on, and your devotion to duty was exemplary. Too often the contributions made by the veterans of the Vietnam War go unrecognized. You came home to be the leaders at all levels in our government, business, and education, thus ensuring our nation continued to grow and continued to prosper. Today, we have the finest Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps because of the lessons that you learned fighting through and overcoming some of the most difficult conditions known to servicemen and women. Most importantly, you have been the fathers, the mothers, the sisters, and the brothers who returned home to build families and to pursue your chosen occupations while always contributing and being faithful to our nation and to your fellow citizens. You have made a difference, and you continue to do so. Our country and its people are far better off today because of your faithfulness. I want to conclude with a story about being faithful. All of you, I am sure, have similar tales that in most cases you keep to yourself. However, I believe that the young Marine in my story epitomizes all of us, you and I. During the Tet Offensive in 1968, I commanded a rifle company in the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, assigned to recapture the city of Hue. It was a typical, tough, urban fight, house to house, room to room, always in close contact with the enemy. Within the ranks of Hotel Company, the company I was blessed to command, there was a young black lance corporal who was everybody's favorite. We could find ourselves in the worst firefight, in the most difficult situation. You know, you'd only have to do is look over to him, he'd have a big smile on his face. He'd give you that big thumbs up. It's okay, Skipper, we got it. He always made you feel good. About a week into the fight, we had recaptured the province capitol building on the south side of the Perfume River, and we were pushing to clear the rest of the southern portion of Hue. We had just kicked off our attack about 0700 in the morning to clear the buildings to our front when this young lance corporal was wounded. He was evacuated back to the battalion aid station, and within an hour, here he came, up the street. Skipper, where's my platoon? I can't leave my brothers. They're over there, son. The fight went on. About 3 hours later, he was hit again as we were clearing the buildings, and this time much, much more serious. He was evacuated all the way back to the regimental aid station, where he was treated and ordered to be evacuated. However, when the medical personnel moved on to treat others, here he came again, walking some 8, 10 to 12 blocks, and he greeted me with, Skipper, where's my platoon? I can't leave my brothers. They're over there, son. He was wrapped up in more bandages and looked like Lon Chaney out of an old horror film, but he was there. But later, as we held up for the night in a cold yard that commanded 2 avenues of approach into our lines, he was out building his defensive position. And just by chance, the enemy wasn't even shooting at us. We just happened to be on the gun target line. We had 18 82 millimeter mortars rounds come down on our position. He was out of his position. He was building his defensive position for the night. And I looked over, and he was down. And I ran over, and I knelt down beside him. He had big tears in his eyes. Skipper, I'm sorry, but I'll have to leave my brothers this time. Like those of us gathered here today who served so selflessly in Vietnam, my young lance corporal was always faithful to his God, to his family, to his country, to his branch of service. But most importantly, he was faithful to his fellow soldier, sailor, airman, Coast Guardman, and Marine. We can be proud, as can the families of our brothers and sisters who did not return from the war, that we were faithful. Our loyalty, reliability, and devotion can never, never be questioned. As Lee Greenwood, in his ballad, "I'm Proud to Be an American," sings so meaningfully, I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her till today. We love this land. God bless the USA. And God bless each one of you and all of you gathered here today. Thank you.
We never thought this day would come. Thank God it did. But what do you say to a nation, its leaders, military and political, that takes so long? We need to say thank you. And we, as veterans, I hope you would agree with me, we need to tell America, we forgive you. And now we have a mission. We need to live. We need to live long and prosper and share this with our children.